Spring solstice was last week. I planted all my little seedlings. I did a little ritual around it. I said good, yummy stuff over them, and hopefully they'll grow well. And I did the same thing for myself. I set some new intentions for myself today. And so I want to give you a quote by Ernest Holmes that kind of sets the tone for when I want to speak to you today regarding intentions. He said, "Because we fail to realize that principle is not bound by precedent, we limit our faith to that which has already been accomplished." So, what he's saying here is we live our life based in principle. Where do we get our principles from? We get them from when we were young. They either get installed in us, for us, to us sometimes, or we install them ourselves. And I'm going to use myself as an example here because I had a principle that I installed myself in my life. And we base our whole lives on these principles. And so I started realizing when I was very, very, very young that in order to survive, I had to fight. So I grew up fighting. I grew up fighting. Now here I am. I'm also 70 years old. Still fighting. Still fighting. Well, that ain't working so well anymore, guys. But that's my principle. And every once in a while, I butt up against it. I butt heads with it. And something happened this week where I butted heads with another person, and I butted heads with that principle. And the background of this was that I had set an intention to not have any more struggles in my life, not have any more catastrophes, not have any more losses, not have any more limitation. I was just done with it all. Well, guess what, guys? I'm still basing my life on the principle that I have to fight. When we base our life on a principle like that, guess what we manifest? Reasons to fight. Right? So I'm like, okay, this is not working so well. What do I have to do here? I have to set an intention that I do not want to fight anymore. Now around here, if you've had any of our beginning classes, you know that we don't express our intention in negatives. We don't say, I don't want to do that anymore. So we have to turn it into a positive. So then I had to say, well, what do I want instead? Well, this is relatively recent. I'm still kind of asking for clarity here. But where I've come so far with it is relaxation, peace, release. Now, there's no accidents in this world. You know, when we set an intention, the universe always says yes, or God, or whatever you want to call it. It always says yes. There's a song on my playlist. Now, this song has been on my playlist for years and years and years. But some kind of technical gremlin got in there, and for many years, this song and a bunch of others were not on my playlist when I go to play my iPhone. So I get in my car, my iPhone and my car, they talk to one another, and then my music comes over the speaker in the car. And I never had this song. So I get a new phone. All of a sudden, all the songs I've ever bought over years, songs I had totally forgotten about, they're on there. Here's the song that I started listening to. Ricky Byers Beck was singing, I release and I let go. And I've been playing that song every single time I get in my car, and I'm singing my little heart out, and I'm just singing it and feeling it and knowing it. I don't know what I'm releasing yet, but I know I'm releasing something. That's what I'm releasing. I'm releasing the fight. And what Ken talked about the creative process, and we set the intentions, and even if we don't know what the intention is quite yet, we know what the final product is, but we also don't know how we're going to get there, and we get to enjoy living in the uncertainty. We actually get to love that process. We get to enjoy not knowing. And we settle in with our intention, and we say, I don't know how this is going to happen, but I know it's going to happen. And then we just do our stuff. We do our stuff. So I have here in my talk, I said, so intention is foreplay for a really good affirmative prayer. It really is. But we've got to know what we want to set the intention for. There's something before the foreplay. There's something before that. There's setting the tone. We have to go within and find out what's really going on with ourselves. Now, if we've got a principle that we've been basing our life on our entire life, you got to dig pretty deep sometimes to get to that. Now, fortunately, I'm pretty good at digging deep. I know a lot of folks don't like to dig that deep, but I get there, and I get there pretty fast anymore. I just go pretty deep with it. So, but there's been stuff in the background for this. So we have spiritual practices that lead up to the setting of intentions. And for me, the number one spiritual practice is self-awareness. Self-awareness. So many processes we can do to have self-awareness. And when I first started doing a self-awareness practice, I was feeling like a lot of my cohorts and peers at the time, and they said, why would I want to do that? That's a dangerous neighborhood to go in there alone. And then I was reminded, we don't go there alone. Don't we teach around here that God is within us? So when we go within, not only are we not going alone, there's God in there, but when we go within and figure out what's really going on with us and what principles we're basing our life on, guess what we're also doing at the same time? We're getting to know God better. And isn't that a cool side benefit? I just love that. Now, admittedly, my motive for going within was to figure out who and what I was. Getting to know God better was the side benefit. For some of us, going within to get to know God better is the primary. And getting to know ourselves is the side benefit. I don't much care. We get them both when we do this process. So we figure out how to go within. We figure out this thing, this self-awareness thing, and we go within and we do that. And then we might play around. So I go within and I'm like, okay, I'm done with the struggles. I'm done. My last great big huge loss in my life was in August. It'll be 5 years when my husband passed away. Like, I'm done with struggles. Life, I'm 70 years old. Life's going to be clear sailing from here on out. And I set that intention. Here's the deal with setting an intention. We go in the background. We figure out the principles that we've based our life on. We remember what Ernest Holmes said. Principle is not bound by precedent. So we based our principle on some precedents that happened in the past. Guess what? When that stuff went down, we were not the same people we are today. We're not the same age. That stuff went down when we were really, really, really young. Really young. That's no longer applicable in our life. The principle can be changed. And there's so much power in this teaching to do that. I call it breaking the mold. And that's kind of my specialty, you guys. I break molds. So I came in here, and you guys had a mold. You have a history of disasters with ministers. Honestly, you do. Lots of ministers coming and going, lots of ministers doing stuff that didn't work so well. That's the history. That's the precedent. But guess what? Through the work that you guys have been doing, you have set an intention, and you've got new principles you're basing your lives on now. And because you're basing your lives on new principles individually, you are basing your lives as a community on new principles. You are breaking the mold. Okay, you've set your intention to attract your new forever minister and be able to pay for a new minister full time. Now, you're going to get started getting to work on the process that's going to be needed to attract that person. You don't know how it's going to happen, but you know it's going to happen. You know it is going to happen, and that is the power. That is how we break the mold, and we do that with this process called treatment. And for those of you who've had the classes, you know there's 5 steps to a treatment. And the first one is we recognize the presence of Spirit or God or whatever. Call it what you want. I don't care. And then we recognize that this Spirit or God or energy, when I'm feeling particularly playful, it's the Force from Star Wars. That's where I go when I'm playing with it. Whatever you want to call it. And again, I don't care. But it's a part of us. And I like to take that a step further because, you know, in the Bible where it says in the beginning God spoke the word and stuff got created, that, obviously I'm not a Bible person much. God is within us. We are here as what Ernest Holmes likes to say, unique and individualized manifestations of Spirit. We're here because we're the only way that God can experience the physical. God is a part of us and we are a part of it. And so when we speak our word, we're speaking God's word. And guess what? When we speak, stuff gets created. When we speak from that place of connection and acknowledgement of God in our lives and as our lives, stuff gets created. And again, we don't know how it gets created. We just know that it does. If we try to get into how it's going to be created, everything falls to hell in a handbasket. Ernest Holmes calls it outlining. We don't need to do that stuff. If we try to get in there and muck things up, yeah, it's not pretty. So we just let that stuff go. We just set our intention and we keep affirming that. And we open up. We open up to Spirit in that process. And we open up to how good things are and how much better they can be. And then we let it go. And we let God do its thing. And we anchor, and so it is. And then we go about our lives, and we do the next indicated right step. And if we don't know what the next indicated right step is, we'll be shown. Something will happen. We'll be shown. We'll know.